Good morning, I'm Tamara Shoemaker. I remember reading an account a while back, or one of many accounts actually, about Sarah Edwards, who was the wife of the evangelist Jonathan Edwards, who is more well known for his sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. I remember reading about specifically how she would meet with the Lord, how she would find time to meet with the Lord when she was raising 11 children. I have 3 children. I often get overwhelmed with the amount of noise produced by all 3 of my children. I have a hard time imagining just how much noise might emanate from 11 of them. So anyway, Sarah would sit down in her rocking chair. She would throw her apron that she wore over top of her head, and she would pray. And her children might have been right next to her rocking chair. They might have been playing on the floor at her feet, but it was her way of isolating herself, shutting out the distractions around her and finding her place to meet with the Lord. I do have an apron. I don't wear it most of the time, but today's a new day. You never know, I might start. Today in Joshua chapter 9, we get the account of the Gibeonite deception. And here's what goes down in that chapter. After the defeat at Ai, a whole slew of cities, those in the hill country, in the western foothills, along the entire coast of the Great Sea, that is the Mediterranean, as far as Lebanon, came together to make war against Joshua and Israel. It's Joshua 9, 1 and 2. No biggie, though, because Joshua and the Israelites have learned an expensive lesson at Ai, right? If they are submitted to the Lord their God, the Lord's going to fight their battles for them. They are promised this land. He's going to take it with them. And he has rooted out their sin, right? Achan, and the story of how he had stolen some things and lied about it. So they rooted out their sin. They can now continue forward. So in this sense of confidence, they see some dusty travelers arrive at their camp. The clothes that the travelers are wearing are patched. They're dirty. Their wineskins are, cracked and sewed shut again. Their sandals are hanging in shreds from their feet, and their food's just old and moldy. And like every fly in the nation is probably buzzing around it because it's just gross. So I can just picture it, shoulders rounded with weariness and dusty and wheezy coughs. And, they're slowly approaching Joshua and just like, oh, I'm so tired. And they say, we've come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us. I love melodrama because it's just so overdone, right? It's clearly fake and it makes me laugh. So here I'm watching the scene with a chuckle, okay, Joshua's going to realize, ha ha ha, but they don't. They're taken in. They're completely deceived. So the Israelites do a little testing of the waters. They do some precautionary measures. They sample the bread. They try out the wineskins, and they're convinced. Joshua 9, 14, and 15 says, the men of Israel sampled their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them to let them live, and the leaders of the assembly ratified the oath. And the uncontested promise of the Lord, the land that the Lord had planned to give the Israelites, it's mitigated by simple deception, fly in the ointment. It's no longer pure. Joshua should have known better. And here's why. Flip back to Exodus chapter 33, verses 7 to 11. It says, now Moses used to take a tent and pitch it outside the camp some distance away, calling it the tent of meeting. Anyone inquiring of the Lord would go to the tent of meeting outside the camp. This is not the tabernacle. It's a separate thing. And whenever Moses went out to the tent, all the people rose and stood at the entrances to their tents, watching Moses until he entered the tent. As Moses went into the tent, the pillar of cloud would come down and would stay at the entrance while the Lord spoke with Moses. Whenever the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance to the tent, they all stood and worshipped, each at the entrance of his tent. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks with his friend. Then Moses would return to the camp, but his young aide, who is it? Joshua, son of Nun. But his young aide, Joshua, son of Nun, did not leave the tent. I can hear my class in elementary school. Anytime somebody does something wrong, the teacher would get a little bit mad and the whole class would go, ooh. Like making that sound is going to make anyone feel better. But boy, did it make you cringe in your seats. You felt the gazes of the whole class pricking the back of your head. Anyway, so I hear that sound now as Joshua and the leaders of Israel sampled their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Because Joshua, the son of Nun, who did not leave the tent of meeting, he guarded that tent. He had a front row seat to the place that the Lord met with Moses when Moses went to inquire of the Lord. Joshua knew of a better way. All of Israel knew of a better way because they would rise and they would stand at the entrances to their tents as they watched Moses enter in to the tent of meeting. And they'd see the glory of the Lord descend on that tent. And because anytime the Lord moves, his people are compelled to worship, they stand at the entrances to their tents and they worship. My husband teases me sometimes because I've been known to, I'm pretty well known to speak without tact if I'm not really watching my words, leaping into conversations without looking first to make sure that my words are fine for the situation. So he'll lean over and he'll kind of stage whisper, check with me before you talk. It's a joke. Don't be offended. We laugh about it. And I love that I can laugh with my husband about both of our mutual foibles. But anyway, Joshua didn't check with the Lord before he talked. He didn't use the better way. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. Joshua didn't acknowledge the Lord. And as a result, the Gibeonites hollowed out a permanent place among the Israelite nation. Naturally, the Israelites were angry, right? Because when they found out they'd been deceived, they were all prepared to go ahead and kill the Gibeonites anyway, like they were supposed to do in the first place, as they continued their march through the Promised Land. But Joshua realized what that would have done, because even though they had made a mistake, even though they hadn't checked with the Lord first to find out what he would have them do, the Israelites had then made a solemn treaty with them not to kill them, and breaking that word would have brought no end of trouble. So Joshua chapter 9, verses 26 and 27 gives us the Gibeonites' fate. It says, So Joshua saved the Gibeonites from the Israelites, and they did not kill them. That day, he made the Gibeonites woodcutters and water carriers for the community and for the altar of the Lord at the place the Lord would choose. And this is what they are to this day. So Gibeon, in payment for their deception, enters the service of the Israelites. Excuse me. It wasn't God's original plan, but the Lord moved the Israelites forward, making use of this new path that the Israelites had chosen without acknowledging the Lord. So this speaks to me because I can get pretty fatalistic sometimes. I realize that I made a wrong choice, and rather than trying to make the best of a mistaken situation, I tend to throw in the towel, right? Oh, well, I may as well give up altogether. Joshua and the Israelites, though they don't give up, they continue on. They're still conquering the Promised Land. They're still marching into their promise. Yeah, they had to make a few adjustments, right, as they learn a hard lesson. But the Lord doesn't pull back his hand of blessing from them. So I wonder, how often Joshua thought about that tent of meeting that he had guarded so faithfully in the days of Moses. I wonder how much he may have kicked himself a little bit as he remembered how faithfully Moses had gone to inquire of the Lord, and how he, Joshua, as the leader of the Israelites after Moses, should have inquired of the Lord. If you think about Jesus, right, and his ministry in the same land where Joshua is marching through and taking it back for Israel, think about Jesus and how often he makes time to go inquire of the Lord, to go to a quiet place and pray. So often his disciples plan to meet with Jesus at a later time because he needs time with his Father. And that time alone cannot be understated. Jesus's life was busy, right? He was often swarmed with people demanding that he touch them and heal them, right? Joshua's life was busy. He's the leader of a nation and a military tactician. Like, he's got to decide a lot of things, and there's a lot of people who come to him for his attention. Moses' life is busy. He's the leader of that same nation, and he's, not so much a military tactician, but he pitched a tent outside the camp. And he met there with the Lord. He inquired of the Lord in that tent. Sarah Edwards' place of meeting, tent of meeting, was beneath her apron, right? My tent of meeting is on my living room couch early in the morning before anyone else gets up. Sometimes it's difficult to find that tent or pitch it with all the demands on our time, but boy, is it necessary. So let's make time today. Let's pitch a tent of meeting. It's so important. All right. Hope that encourages you. Tomorrow we'll talk about How the sun stands still. That's going to be cool. All right, see you then.